And now, let us prepare our hearts and minds and a time for meditation. I invite you to find a comfortable position in your seats. Close your eyes if you wish and take a few deep breaths. Let go of any distractions or worries that may be on your mind.
Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness. I know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer.
Deep, deep, deep breath in now. Deep breath in and hold it for a moment. Hold it for a moment, and as you slowly exhale, begin to let the body relax. Begin to let go of any tension in any spot in your body that you're feeling, and focusing on the breath, the breathing in and the breathing out. The body relaxes, settles into a comfortable place. The hands relax and the legs relax. And we take in one more deep, deep, deep breath and hold it for a moment. And as we exhale, the belly drops and the shoulders drop and the jaw drops. And we begin to know that God is always there. Source is always there. Spirit is always there. Oneness is always there. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Relaxing more now, settling into our seat, breathing in and breathing out. Any place where there's tension, we breathe into it now and let it drift away. Any spot where there's any tightness in your body, take a breath and focus on that spot. And as you exhale, let the tightness go. Let it go. Calm your body. And as you calm your body, your mind begins to calm. Your mind begins to settle down. Those racing thoughts, those thoughts that are always there, those thoughts that we have access to, they begin to slow down. There's a moment or two of space in between each one. And as that moment of space between each thought begins to lengthen, we begin to nourish in the midst of it. For this is a time to nourish ourselves, to quiet down, to settle into that quiet place, that silent place, that secret place of the Most High, that place where we truly know that God is always there, no matter what the situation, no matter what thoughts are coming and going. God, Spirit, is always there. Breathing in and breathing out, focusing on the breath. As the thoughts come in, we acknowledge them, we thank them, we let them go. And as we realize even more so that God is always there, we settle into the knowledge and knowing of our own divinity, of our own connection with all that is and all that ever was and all that will ever be, that we are truly one with God, one with the universe, one with Spirit. Breathing in, breathing out, relaxed body, quiet mind, love, God, peace, joy. Taking in one more deep breath and exhaling when you're ready. We settle into the silent time, settle into a time of renewal and refreshment. In the silence now, in the silence. Breathing in and breathing out now. Breathing in and realizing that every breath in is the breath of God, and every breath out is the breath of God. Coming back now slowly to this time and place, coming back with that breath, coming back with the knowing that God is always there in the midst of anything that's happening in this human experience. God is always there. We give thanks for taking the time this morning to renew and re-energize ourselves. We give thanks for the knowing that God, Source, Spirit, the universe, love, goodness, is always there. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen.
Thoughts are ever present in my head. Some drift in and some drift out. For some I make a bed. Always moving, changing, pulsing, calling in my mind. Still thoughts are only thoughts until I choose to call them mine. Thoughts can bring emotions like worry, fear, or joy. Feelings that can guide us, or feelings that can destroy. Emotions are a frequency. We have them every day. Still, emotions are just energy until a sound is made. Intention is a magic key that brings a sound to life. Embedded in the things we say can carry love and light. And just before a sound is made, intention has its start. Then it travels on the waves of sound to reach another's heart. Thoughts are only thoughts, though emotions give them strength. But intent is given wings to fly in the very sounds we make, and carried on the waves of sound, it reaches far and wide, and it rests upon the thoughts who hear those emotions throughout time.
David Trolley. Thank you, David Trolley. Well, that was the sermon today, everybody. Thank you, David, for doing it. Have a great day. How do you find such a perfect song? I mean, I got to tell you, that David Trolley's good. We just come, our thoughts come together, and it happens. So thank you, David. Always a joy. You know, there's so many wonderful lines in that song. Still, thoughts are only thoughts until I choose to call them mine. They're not mine until I call them mine. We can let them go. They can go out there. It's when I grab onto them and say, oh, that's mine. I'm going to put emotion behind it. I'm going to put intention behind it. Feelings that can guide us are feelings that destroy. Which ones do you want in your life? Do you want to be guided, or you want to get feelings that can destroy? We have a choice. We have a choice in the thoughts that we hop onto. Embedded in the things we say can carry love or strife. It's that emotion, that intention behind our thoughts, that we can send our love or we can send our strife. I don't know about you, but I want to send love whenever I can, and I want to receive love whenever I can. Thoughts are only thoughts, though emotions give them strength. Remember that. Our emotions give our thoughts strength. And even in the midst of thoughts we don't want to have, if we wrap them up in love, they have a different feel, a different strength to them. I wanted to just call your attention to a couple of upcoming events. Next Sunday, I'm happy to say that Paul John Roach is coming back, author of, if you remember, we did the book study, Unity in World Religions. And I'm always interested to hear what Paul has to say. So join us next week for Paul John Roach. And we've got some fabulous speakers coming up. Alden Studebaker here, Reverend Alden Studebaker will be here, the author of Wisdom for a Lifetime, a book about the Bible and getting comfortable with the Bible. And then I'm really excited that Richard Held and Matthew Wilson are going to be joining us in September. Richard and Matthew have been around the Unity movement for a long time. Richard is the minister, Matthew is music, and they just finished up at Unity Church of Linwood, and they'll be joining us. Mark Hicks is coming, the founder of the website that we talk about and I use, Truth Unity, will be here. And Raymond Anderson, if you remember him, he's coming back, and I'm sure that's going to be fun. And then David Trolley set up Richard McDeesey to come and join us. And he's one of the co-founders with Sue. I can't. Her last name is escaping me right now, but with Sue. And they're the founders of Empower Music. And so Richard will be here doing the talk and music. And I am really excited. Next Saturday is game day. The events team is putting on another games day. It's at Donna Twelridge's. I'll be there. I hope you'll all come and join me. I'm ready to challenge you to a game of Yahtzee. So we'll see you there. Hey, and guess what? World Day of, don't forget to register for game day if you're coming, so we know how many are going to be there. And World Day of Prayer is coming up this year. World Day of Prayer is going to be on September 17th. It's a Thursday, and it's going to be held during noon meditation. So we're going to expand noon meditation a little bit. You'll have an opportunity to send your prayer request in, and during that noon meditation and during our World Day of Prayer celebration, we'll be reading the prayer request, and the chaplains and I will be holding them in prayer for the next 30 days. And I want to mention to our virtual attendees, consider joining us in Davis for our holiday party and in-person service on December the 8th. We hope you'll make a plane reservation and come down. If you need someplace to stay, let me know. We'll see if we can arrange some housing for you. Come on down, join the potluck and join our in-person service, and join Dottie Bonneau as she's producing her version of Scrooge, A Christmas Carol. It's going to be fun. So think about coming and join us, and look in the newsletter, the e-news, for information on the Unity Cruise that Karen Drucker is putting together, along with Eddie Watkins and Michael Gott, Reverend Temple Hayes. It's Alaskan, the Northwest Passage, the Alaskan cruise. It's going to be a lot of fun, and several of us have already signed up. Not a lot of midship cabins left, so if you're thinking about going, get some information on that and sign up now. And of course, you know that I said that I want to make a commitment that democracy is part of the legacy that I leave. And so we certainly have been showing you ways to get involved in making sure that we remain in a democracy in this country. And I don't know about you, but I signed up for the 100 days of conscious intention, and I've been getting my messages every day, and they're really great. It's really a good intention. So please help me in joining into a legacy of democracy for our country. And you know what else? There's a fine line between a numerator and a denominator. Let me say it one more time, because only a fraction of you will get that, they say. There's a fine line between a numerator and a denominator. That's a joke for John Duffy, if I ever heard one. And then there was a colonel who was in the army, and he was in his office. And a private knocked on his door. Well, wanting to impress the private, the colonel picked up the phone and started talking while waving this private into his office. The colonel started, "Yes, Mr. President, I will get on this right away. Mr. President, you have the right man for the job. Thank you for thinking of me. By the way, Mr. President, give my best to the First Lady." And the colonel hangs up the phone. The colonel then turned to the private and said in a harsh tone, "What do you want?" And the private said, "Nothing, sir. I'm just here to fix the phone." All right, we'll move on. So, racing thoughts. We mentioned racing thoughts before the service started. We were chatting, and I said, "Does anybody here have racing thoughts?" And surprisingly enough, everybody raised their hand. Is there anybody here that I'm looking at that does not have racing thoughts? Nobody raised their hand, at least that I can see. Everyone, at least according to the Harvard's Men's Health Watch, Matthew Sloan writes from Harvard Medical School, everyone has moments when their brain suddenly goes haywire. They repeatedly fixate on the same thought, like being stuck on a hamster wheel, or their next thoughts aimlessly bounce from one random topic to another like a pinball. I've had both of those. Bing, 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 or I'm just stuck on it. I'm going around. It's like a circus wheel. I'm just going, it's over and over. I can't get rid of it. People often refer to these thought patterns as racing thoughts. And the most common cause is anxiety, says Fairly for Brett, a PhD, a psychologist at Harvard-affiliated McLean Hospital. She says people who struggle with racing thoughts are constantly worried about what needs to be done, what hasn't been done, and what is next. Or, she says, they obsess about past, present, or future situations. For example, you replay a conversation with different versions of dialogue. Ruminate about an upcoming meeting with your boss or medical appointment. Oh, I've done that. You know about that. My doctor told me I was having a midlife crisis. I was worried and I had recurring thoughts. I had racing thoughts going on in my head about my blood pressure. I was taking it every time, 10 minutes. Settle down. Or even worry about an unlikely doomsday scenario. Have you ever gotten into that? My goodness. When you have racing thoughts, you may feel like your mind is going a mile a minute, that you just aren't able to slow down your thoughts, that your mind isn't able to shut off and you can't fully relax, that it's difficult to focus on anything else. You keep thinking about a problem that's been blown out of proportion. And you can even start I love the word, but it's hard to say. Catastrophizing, or thinking the worst case scenarios. Marla Diebler, a doctor of psychology, said racing thoughts may be a daily reality for you or an occasional annoyance. Racing thoughts are common for people with anxiety when they're facing a stressor. For instance, anxious thoughts may be a string of worries. I don't have a date for the party tomorrow. And then it begins. I can't go by myself. What will everyone think? What's wrong with me? Why don't I have a date? That's it. I'm not going. But everyone will wonder where I am if I don't go. Well, I should go. Oh, I just don't know what to do. And you get all caught up in that thought. It just goes over and over and over again. And you think that you can't stop it. But in reality, you can. We do have control of our thoughts. We get to choose whether that racing thought goes on and on, or whether we're going to stop it, whether we're going to deny any power to it. Racing thoughts can be overwhelming, confusing, and distressing. They can also hinder one's ability to concentrate and accomplish tasks, as well as memory and sleep. Fortunately, there are various strategies that you can find all over the internet that can help us keep calm and quiet racing thoughts. And there are many strategies out there. Eric Butterworth, in his essay on abundant living, number 37, says this: how very strong is the influence of thought in our lives, and especially on the state of our health. Mind and body cannot be separated. Notice how the mind works on the body. If you are embarrassed, you blush. If nervous, you can perspire. Fear can cause your hands to shake or your voice to quiver. Butterworth says it is a well-known but comparatively recent discovery that the physical state of the body has little to do with the world around you, and everything to do with how you're adjusting to that world, what you're thinking about what's going on. Poor health is invited and supported by wrong attitudes, negative emotions, tensions, and guilt. Happy emotions invite good health. So what can we do? How can we get rid of these racing thoughts? How can we stop them from coming? How can we slow them down? How can we break the cycle of anxiety and racing thoughts? Well, one thing we can do is give yourself permission. Give yourself permission. Racing thoughts are often made worse by the anxiety over having racing thoughts. To escape this, give yourself permission to experience them, Acknowledge that racing thoughts are just noise. It is what our minds sometimes do, and that's okay. Dr. Fabret says, this gives you a sense of control so you don't feel helpless. When you put racing thoughts in their proper context, they feel less threatening and easier to manage. So instead of getting all concerned about them, getting yourself even more anxious than the racing thoughts are already making you, it's almost like, remember when we started medication or medication? Maybe I need some medication this morning. When we started meditation today, I said something like, as the thoughts come in, welcome them, acknowledge them, thank them, and then send them on their way. Let them go. Well, perhaps maybe with these racing thoughts, when they start, we should realize that it's okay to have them. We should thank them and acknowledge them and let them go, and then say, hey, go away for now. I'm going to set a time to deal with you in a little bit, and make that time, and then come back and deal with them so that they don't have to come back, so that you've dealt with them. Remember, most of the time when we're having racing thoughts, what are we doing? We're creating stories. We're creating stories that aren't, well, wait, you know what kind of stories you create. I know what kind of stories I create. So if we could just stop creating those stories, if we could just say, hey, stop, I'll come back to you. I don't need that story. Perhaps we've even got what we're racing thoughts about solved by the time we come back to it. Another thing you can do is get mindful. Get mindful. Practicing mindfulness can help change your thought patterns. For instance, try counting your breaths. Close your eyes and count to yourself as you take slow, steady breaths. Count 1 on the inhale, 2 on the exhale, and so forth. When you reach 10, start over and repeat that process until you calm down. Dr. Fabret says this is also a great remedy before sleep when most people's minds begin to ruminate. Also, you can practice this breath work, this counting breath work, at times when your thoughts are not racing, so you will have the skill when you need it. I got to tell you, when I lay down to go to sleep, that's sometimes my racing thoughts just take over. And you know what helps? I sit up, I turn on the light, and that immediately breaks the cycle. It's different. I have a different environment. My thought changes. It wakes up Bessie Coleman and she meows, and that gives me something else to think about. Change the pattern. Mindfulness. Count your breaths. Turn on a light. Walk or turn around in a circle. Change things. Next, Dr. Fabret suggests distracting yourself. Distracting yourself. You can sometimes break the cycle by distracting your mind. As soon as you notice yourself worrying again or thinking about things over and over, make an internal comment to yourself like, here I go again with my list of thought that never ends. Then make a conscious decision to do something else, like reading, listening to music, or calling a friend perhaps. Let's see, what does Fabret say there? She says, as soon as you notice that you're worrying again or thinking about things over and over, make an internal comment to yourself like, here I go again, and then move on to something else. Why, that sounds like a truth principle to me. Denials and affirmations, maybe? I deny any power to you, racing thoughts. I deny any power to you. You're there. You're not denying that those racing thoughts are there. You're denying that they have any power over you. I deny them. And I affirm that it's time for me to get a snack. I affirm that it's time for me to take a walk outside. I affirm that it's time to put Daniel Nahmod on the Alexa and sing my thoughts or prayers or when I pray. I can distract myself.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Alexa, stop. I should not have said her name. She said, I don't know that one. Oh my, we never know what's going to happen in the world around us, really. And I could worry about that. I could worry about that happening, but I deny any power to her, and I go on to my next tip for stopping racing thoughts. Use affirmations and denials. They can help you slow those racing thoughts down. They take away the power of them. And the next thing Dr. Fabret recommends is get moving. Get moving. It sounds like token health advice, but exercise more. Movement is helpful for diffusing anxiety. Movement is helpful for slowing down those racing thoughts. For instance, when an episode of racing thoughts strikes, well, here's a good one. Do a set of 10 push-ups. Well, all right, do a set of 2 push-ups if you can. She says do 10 jumping jacks. Let's settle for 3 jumping jacks. But we can all take a 5-minute walk, or we can all do household chores. We get moving. We get some energy going. we get our bodies moving and we begin to slow those thoughts down and change those thoughts. These not only help break the cycle of racing thoughts, but give your mind something else to focus on. Also, she suggests, and I suggest too, build regular exercise into your life as well as these short bursts of activity. They can help relieve anxiety and stress, which will help relieve racing thoughts. And then, last but not least, Dr. Fabret invites us to schedule worry time. Now, some of you will jump at the opportunity to schedule worry time, but let's not jump at the opportunity to do that. But sometimes, Dr. Fabret says, it's best to let racing thoughts run their course. Otherwise, they may linger indefinitely. To do this, she says you can schedule worry time. When anxious racing thoughts occur, recognize them, but tell yourself that now is not worry time, that I'll deal with them later. Then at a fixed time of your choosing, do nothing but explore those thoughts and work through them. For example, write down the thoughts that comes to mind without editing them. Include all the worst case scenarios you can think of. And then you can also talk about them aloud and ask yourself what makes you nervous and why. Eventually, this allows you to comfort your anxiety head on, but on your schedule without taking away from other activities. Set a limit time to worry, like 10 or 20 minutes. When the time is up, you move on. We all have racing thoughts. We have access. We can allow racing thoughts, or we can acknowledge them, thank them for coming, and let them go. We have the choice. We have the power to deny any power to our racing thoughts. Well, that's Racing Thoughts. Thank you for being here today. Don't get on to racing thoughts the rest of the day. Thank you. Have a great week.